Alex Morgan rubbed his tired eyes and glanced at the clock. 7:48 p.m., another late night at the office. He'd promised his daughter Lily he'd be home for dinner, but that promise had evaporated like morning dew under the heat of back-to-back emergency meetings. The sky outside his corner office had already darkened, the city lights twinkling like earthbound stars. With a sigh, he gathered the stack of papers his assistant had left on his desk that morning. Somewhere in this pile was the contact information for piano teachers from the Westlake Music Academy. Finding a suitable teacher for 10-year-old Lily had been on his to-do list for weeks now. One more thing I can check off, he muttered to himself, flipping through the pages while simultaneously responding to emails on his phone. Being both CEO of Morgan Tech Solutions and a single dad to Lily wasn't just difficult. Some days it felt impossible. Since Diane's death 3 years ago, he'd been stumbling through parenthood, trying to be both mom and dad while running a company with over 200 employees. The guilt of another missed dinner gnawed at him as he dialed the number scribbled on a yellow sticky note. The phone rang 3 times before someone picked up. "Hello?" A woman's voice, soft but clear, answered. Alex shifted into his professional tone. "Yes, hello? This is Alex Morgan. I'm calling about the piano lessons. My daughter's interested in starting next week if you're available." There was a brief pause on the other end of the line. "Piano lessons?" The woman sounded confused. "Yes, from Westlake Academy. Your name was recommended. I understand you have excellent credentials and experience with children Lily's age." Another pause, longer this time. Alex checked his email while waiting, only half paying attention. "I think there might be—" the woman began, then stopped herself. Alex could hear a child's voice in the background asking a question. "Just a minute, honey," she said, muffled, before returning to the call. "Mr. Morgan, I know it's short notice," Alex interrupted, now scrolling through his calendar. "But we could start next Saturday morning if that works for you. I can pay above the Academy's standard rate for the inconvenience." The mention of money seemed to change something. The woman cleared her throat. "Saturday morning would actually work," she said slowly. "Would 10 a.m. suit you?" "Perfect. We're at 247 Oak Ridge Drive. Do you need any other information?" "No, that should be fine." "I'll see you Saturday at 10. Alex thanked her and hung up, checking another item off his mental list without giving the conversation a second thought. If he hurried, he might make it home before Lily fell asleep. Across town, in a modest 2-bedroom apartment, Rachel Chen set her phone down and stared at it as if it might explain what had just happened. Her 8-year-old son Tommy looked up from his math homework. "Who was that, Mom?" Rachel ran her fingers through her dark hair, tucking a strand behind her ear. I just got a job offer. Sort of, she laughed, the sound warming their small living room. "Well, someone thinks I'm a piano teacher from Westlake Academy. But you play cello, not piano, and I haven't taught music since you were a baby." Rachel chewed her bottom lip. She'd graduated from Juilliard with a master's degree in music education, but after her divorce she'd turned to graphic design to pay the bills. The cello in the corner of their living room was now more decoration than instrument, played only on rare evenings when deadlines weren't looming and Tommy was already asleep. "Are you going to tell them they have the wrong person?" Tommy asked, practical as always. Rachel should say yes. She should call the man back and explain the mix-up. But the rent was due next week, and her biggest client had just postponed their project by a month. The man, Mr. Morgan, had mentioned paying above the standard rate. One lesson, she told herself. I'll go once, explain the situation in person, and maybe recommend someone who actually teaches at Westlake. On Saturday morning, Rachel dressed in her most professional outfit, black slacks and a blue blouse she usually reserved for client meetings. She dusted off her cello case, reasoning that bringing her own instrument would make her credentials clear while explaining the misunderstanding. "Why are you bringing that?" Tommy asked as he pulled on his jacket. She'd arranged for him to spend the morning with his best friend next door. "It's who I am," she replied simply. "If I'm going to turn down a job, I should at least be honest about my qualifications." Tommy rolled his eyes in that way only children can. Grown-ups are weird. After dropping Tommy off, Rachel followed her GPS to an address in one of the city's most exclusive neighborhoods. She'd expected something impressive, but still found herself pausing at the gate of a sprawling modern house, with clean lines and walls of glass that reflected the surrounding oak trees. Her beat-up Honda looked embarrassingly out of place in the circular driveway. With her cello case in one hand, she rang the doorbell, heart pounding like she was about to perform at Carnegie Hall, rather than admit to a case of mistaken identity. The door swung open to reveal a tall man with dark hair peppered with gray at the temples. Alex Morgan wore jeans and a casual button-down with the sleeves rolled up. Not what Rachel had expected from someone who'd sounded so corporate on the phone. His eyes, a warm brown, widened slightly at the sight of her cello. "You're not Mrs. Patterson," he said, confusion replacing his welcoming smile. "No, I'm Rachel Chen." She extended her hand. "And I think there's been a mix-up." Before Alex could respond, a small figure appeared beside him. The girl had her father's eyes, but long copper hair pulled into a messy braid. She stared at Rachel with undisguised curiosity. "You don't look like a piano teacher," the girl said. Rachel couldn't help but smile. "That's because I'm actually a cellist." "Or I was," Alex's brow furrowed. "I don't understand." "You're not from Westlake Academy?" "No," Rachel admitted. "I think you called the wrong number. I was going to tell you, but—" She hesitated, suddenly embarrassed by her near deception. "But what?" Alex crossed his arms, a hint of annoyance creeping into his voice. The girl, Lily, she presumed, stepped forward. "What's that?" She pointed at the cello case. "This is a cello," Rachel answered, relieved for the distraction. "It's like a giant violin that you play sitting down. Can I see it?" Lily's eyes sparkled with interest. Alex looked like he was about to refuse, but something in his daughter's expression seemed to change his mind. "We were expecting a Mrs. Patterson for piano lessons," he explained to Rachel. "My assistant arranged it through Westlake Academy." "I have a degree in music education," Rachel found herself saying. "I don't teach piano, but I do know enough to start a beginner." She hadn't planned to offer her services, but the words tumbled out anyway. There was something about the hope in Lily's eyes and perhaps the hint of desperation she recognized in Alex's. "Can I hear you play?" Lily asked, pointing to the cello. Alex checked his watch, then looked at his daughter's eager face. "I suppose a quick demonstration wouldn't hurt." "Since you're already here." Rachel hadn't performed for anyone in years, but she nodded and followed them into a spacious living room, dominated by a sleek black grand piano. The room looked staged for a magazine shoot, beautiful but unlived in, with no photos or personal touches visible. She took out her cello with practiced movements that came back like muscle memory. Positioning herself on the edge of an armchair, she tuned quickly, aware of Lily watching her every move. "What would you like to hear?" she asked the girl. Lily shrugged. "Anything." Rachel thought for a moment, then began playing the opening notes of Bach's Cello Suite No. 1. The familiar melody filled the room, resonating against the high ceilings and glass walls. She closed her eyes, letting herself fall into the music like slipping into a beloved old coat found in the back of a closet. When she finished, she opened her eyes to find Lily sitting cross-legged on the floor in front of her, mouth slightly open in wonder. Alex stood by the piano, his expression softened, the annoyance gone. "That was beautiful," Lily whispered. "You're really not from Westlake," Alex said. It wasn't a question anymore. "No," Rachel admitted. "I'm just a mom who used to play professionally. I came to explain the mix-up in person and recommend someone else. Could you teach me that?" Lily asked, pointing to the cello. Rachel glanced at Alex, unsure how to respond. He ran a hand through his hair, looking between his daughter and Rachel. "I've been trying to get Lily interested in music for months. This is the first time she's shown any enthusiasm. Dad, please." Lily turned to her father with pleading eyes. "The piano sounds boring, but this is cool." Alex's phone buzzed in his pocket. He checked it and frowned. "I need to take this. Work emergency." He gave Rachel an apologetic look before stepping out of the room. Left alone with Lily, Rachel smiled awkwardly. "Have you ever played any instruments before?" "No, but Dad thinks I should. Mom used to play piano." Her voice grew quieter on the last sentence. "And where is your mom now?" Rachel asked gently, though she had already guessed from the look in Alex's eyes. The same look she sometimes caught in her own reflection. "She died when I was 7, Lily said matter-of-factly, though her fingers twisted the hem of her shirt. "Dad's been trying to find things to keep me busy since then." The honesty of children never ceased to amaze Rachel. Before she could respond, Alex returned, slipping his phone into his pocket with a sigh that suggested the emergency wasn't fully resolved. So, he said, looking directly at Rachel, you're not who I was expecting, but my daughter seems more interested in your instrument than she's ever been in piano. Do you actually teach? Not currently, Rachel admitted. But I could. I have the training and experience. Dad, please, can she teach me cello instead of boring old piano? Lily tugged at her father's hand. Alex hesitated, studying Rachel carefully. How about a trial period? 4 lessons and then we'll see. It wasn't what either of them had planned for that morning, but as Rachel nodded and began discussing scheduling with Alex, she couldn't help feeling that this wrong number might turn out to be exactly right. Alex stood in the doorway watching Lily practice her new cello exercises. It had been 3 weeks since the mix-up that brought Rachel Chen into their lives, and he still couldn't quite believe how things had turned out. He'd been furious at first, ready to fire his assistant for giving him the wrong number. But seeing Lily so engaged with music for the first time ever had stopped him from making that call. Now, every Tuesday and Saturday morning, their normally quiet house filled with sounds that reminded him of his wife. Not piano as Diana had played, but something deeper, richer, different yet somehow right. Dad, you're staring again, Lily said without looking up from her bow positioning. Ms. Chen says it makes people nervous when you hover. Alex chuckled. Just impressed with how quickly you're learning, kiddo. That's because Ms. Chen doesn't treat me like a baby. Mrs. Patterson from school talks to us like we're 4 years old. He checked his watch. Rachel would arrive in 15 minutes for today's lesson. Plenty of time to finish reviewing the contract that had been sitting on his desk since yesterday. Keep practicing. I'll be in my office. But instead of heading straight to work, Alex found himself in the kitchen making an extra cup of coffee the way he'd noticed Rachel liked it, with just a splash of milk, no sugar. He wasn't sure when he'd started this ritual, but it had become part of their Saturday routine. The doorbell rang precisely at 10. Rachel was nothing if not punctual. When he opened the door, she stood there with her cello case and a folder of sheet music, dressed casually in jeans and a green sweater that matched her eyes. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, revealing small silver earrings. Good morning, she said with a smile that seemed to brighten the entire entryway. How was Lily's practice this week? Consistent, Alex replied, stepping back to let her in, which is a miracle. I can't get her to brush her teeth without reminding her 3 times, but she's practicing cello on her own. Rachel laughed, the sound warm and genuine. The honeymoon phase. Let's hope it lasts. As they walked toward the living room, Alex handed her the coffee mug. I made you coffee. She looked surprised, then pleased. Thank you. That's very thoughtful. Their fingers brushed during the exchange, and Alex felt an unexpected jolt that made him step back a little too quickly. Rachel pretended not to notice, taking a sip and nodding appreciatively. Perfect, she said. Ms. Chen, Lily called from the living room. I figured out the thing with my thumb position. Rachel raised her eyebrows at Alex. Sounds like someone's been working hard. She talks about cello all week, he admitted. It's all Ms. Chen said this, and Ms. Chen showed me that. I think you've become her hero. A slight blush colored Rachel's cheeks. She's a natural. Very different from teaching Tommy. He lasted exactly 2 lessons before deciding music wasn't his thing. How is your son doing? Alex asked, genuinely curious. Rachel occasionally mentioned Tommy during their brief conversations before and after lessons. He's good. Working on a science project about rockets this weekend. My neighbor's watching him during our lesson. Alex nodded, suddenly aware they were just standing in the hallway. Well, I won't keep you. Lily's eagerly waiting. Right. Rachel smiled again and headed toward the living room. Alex returned to his office but found himself unable to focus on the contract. Instead, he kept listening to the muffled sounds from the living room. Rachel's patient instructions, Lily's concentrated playing, their shared laughter when something went wrong. It was a welcome change from the heavy silence that had filled their home for too long. Halfway through the lesson, his phone rang. The office. On a Saturday, I need to take this, he said, popping his head into the living room briefly before retreating to his office. 20 minutes later, he returned to find Rachel sitting cross-legged on the floor with Lily, both of them working on a piece of paper. What's happening here? He asked. I thought this was a cello lesson. We're mapping the journey of a musical phrase, Rachel explained. Sometimes you have to understand the story the music is telling before you can play it properly. Lily held up their drawing, a winding path through mountains and valleys, with little symbols at different points. This is where it gets sad, she pointed, and this is where it starts to feel hopeful again. Ms. Chen says good musicians don't just play notes, they tell stories. Alex stared at them both, slightly baffled but impressed. That's not how my piano lessons went as a kid, Rachel shrugged. Everyone learns differently. Lily connects with stories. When the lesson ended, Alex walked Rachel to the door as usual. Normally she would leave quickly, off to pick up Tommy for their Saturday activities, but today she lingered. I wanted to talk to you about something, she said, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. The 4-lesson trial period ends today. Alex had completely forgotten. Right, of course. Lily is progressing wonderfully. She has a natural ear and genuine interest. I'd be happy to continue teaching her if you'd like. Absolutely, Alex said without hesitation. She's never stuck with anything this long before. Whatever you're doing, it's working. Rachel smiled but still seemed hesitant. There's one more thing. I've been offered a part-time position teaching cello at the Community Arts Center. It would be Tuesday afternoons and Saturday mornings. Oh? Alex felt an unexpected pang of disappointment. So you won't be able to continue Lily's lessons. Actually, I was hoping we could move her lessons to Thursday afternoons and Sunday mornings, if that works with your schedule. The relief Alex felt was disproportionate to the situation. That should be fine. I can make it work, Rachel nodded. Good, that's good. She glanced at her watch. I should go. Tommy's waiting. As Alex watched her drive away, he realized he was genuinely happy for her. The teaching position seemed to matter to her, and somehow in just 4 lessons, Rachel's happiness had started to matter to him too. The following Thursday, Alex made sure to be home early for Lily's rescheduled lesson. He'd had his assistant clear his calendar, something he rarely did for anything short of a major client crisis. But when Rachel arrived, she wasn't alone. A boy about 8 years old stood beside her, clutching a backpack and looking up at the house with wide eyes. I'm so sorry, Rachel said, her expression flustered. My neighbor had an emergency and couldn't watch Tommy. I tried to find someone else, but it's fine, Alex assured her, opening the door wider. He's welcome here. Tommy looked nothing like Rachel with his sandy hair and freckles. He must take after his father, Alex thought. But the boy had his mother's kind eyes and curious expression. Your house is huge, Tommy said bluntly. Do you guys get lost in here? Lily appeared in the hallway, cello already in hand, and stared at the newcomer. Tommy, this is Lily, Rachel said, and this is Mr. Morgan. You can call me Alex, he told the boy, who nodded solemnly. Are you really a CEO? Tommy asked. My teacher says CEOs make important decisions all day. Alex couldn't help but laugh. Some days. Other days I just sit in meetings pretending to listen while doodling on my notepad. Tommy grinned, apparently deciding Alex was okay. Can Tommy watch my lesson? Lily asked, already leading the boy toward the living room. I can show him how I've been practicing that new piece. Rachel gave Alex an apologetic look as the children disappeared around the corner. He has books and his tablet. He shouldn't be any trouble. Really, it's no problem, Alex said. Actually, I was about to order pizza for dinner after Lily's lesson. You two are welcome to stay if you'd like. The invitation surprised them both. Rachel opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. That's very kind, but please. Alex surprised himself with how much he wanted them to say yes. Lily would love the company. We don't entertain much. Rachel studied his face for a moment. Okay, that would be nice. Thank you. The lesson proceeded as usual, though Lily seemed to be showing off a bit with Tommy as an audience. Alex tried to work in his office but found himself drifting toward the living room repeatedly, drawn by the sound of children's voices and Rachel's patient instructions. When the pizza arrived, they gathered in the kitchen, a room that rarely saw use beyond breakfast cereal and coffee. Alex realized with some embarrassment that he couldn't remember the last time they'd eaten at the actual kitchen table, instead of in front of the TV or at their respective desks. Do you always eat on real plates? Tommy asked as Alex set the table. We use paper plates on pizza night. Tommy, Rachel warned. It's an honest question, Alex laughed. And no, we don't. Usually it's paper plates and eating wherever. This is different. Special occasion, Lily declared, helping herself to a slice. The conversation flowed easily throughout dinner. Tommy talked about his rocket project, which led to Alex sharing stories about a failed rocket he'd built in college. Lily and Tommy argued good-naturedly about whether science or music was more important, with Rachel playing mediator. Alex found himself laughing more than he had in months. As Rachel and Tommy prepared to leave, Lily asked, "Can they come for pizza again next time?" Alex looked at Rachel, trying to read her expression. "The invitation is open anytime." Rachel hesitated, then smiled. "We'd like that. Wouldn't we, Tommy?" Tommy nodded enthusiastically. "Mr. Morgan says he'll help with my rocket next time." After they left, Alex expected the house to feel empty again. Instead, it felt full of possibility, like a space waiting to be filled with more evenings like this one. "Dad?" Lily asked as he tucked her in that night. "Yeah, kiddo? Ms. Chen and Tommy are nice, aren't they?" Alex smiled in the darkness of her room. "Yes, they are. Mom would have liked them," Lily said softly. Alex felt his throat tighten. "I think you're right. She would have liked them very much." Over the next 2 months, Thursday lessons and Sunday morning sessions became the anchor points of Alex's week. He'd begun arranging his schedule around them, much to the surprise of his executive assistant, who had never seen him prioritize anything over work before. Pizza dinners after Thursday lessons had become a tradition, and sometimes Sunday morning lessons stretched into afternoon park visits or trips to the museum. Today, Alex leaned against the doorframe of the living room, coffee mug in hand, watching Rachel guide Lily through a particularly challenging piece. Sunlight streamed through the windows, highlighting the copper in Lily's hair and the focused expression on her face as she dragged the bow across the strings. "Try again, but this time think of it like waves washing onto shore," Rachel suggested. "Each note builds on the one before it." Lily nodded seriously and started again. The difference was subtle but unmistakable. Rachel caught Alex's eye and smiled. That smile still gave him a strange flutter in his chest, something he hadn't felt in years. He'd been ignoring it diligently, reminding himself that Rachel was Lily's teacher and nothing more. Their lives had simply become pleasantly entangled. Tommy sat cross-legged on the floor nearby, working on a model airplane. He'd become a fixture at the lessons, sometimes listening intently, other times absorbed in his own projects. The two children had developed an easy friendship, with Lily taking on the role of slightly bossy older sister and Tommy, alternating between annoyed tolerance and genuine admiration. "That's much better," Rachel praised as Lily finished the passage. "You're really getting it," Lily beamed. "Can I play it for Dad?" "Of course." Alex set down his coffee and gave Lily his full attention as she played the piece from the beginning. When she finished, he applauded enthusiastically. "That was beautiful, Lil. You've come so far." "Ms. Chen says I might be ready for the student showcase at the community center in a few months." Alex raised his eyebrows and looked at Rachel. "A showcase?" "It's a small recital for students," Rachel explained. "Very low pressure, just a chance for them to experience playing for an audience. Lily has the talent for it if she's interested." "Can I, Dad, please?" Lily clutched her bow tightly, eyes wide with excitement. "If Rachel thinks you're ready, then absolutely," Alex replied, his heart warming at his daughter's enthusiasm. Music had brought something back to Lily that had been missing since her mother died. The lesson continued, and Alex reluctantly retreated to his home office to deal with the emails that had accumulated overnight. An hour later, a soft knock on his door pulled his attention away from his computer screen. "Come in," he called, expecting Lily. Instead, Rachel poked her head in. "Sorry to interrupt. Lily's taking a break and I wanted to ask you something." "Not an interruption at all," Alex said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. "What's up?" Rachel sat down, looking slightly nervous. "The community center is hosting a benefit concert next weekend. Local musicians performing to raise money for music education programs." She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "I'm playing a piece, my first public performance in years, actually." "That's wonderful," Alex said sincerely. "I'm sure you'll be amazing." "Thank you," she smiled briefly. "I was wondering if you and Lily might want to come. Tommy will be there too, of course." Alex felt that flutter again. "We'd love to." "Great," Rachel looked relieved. "It's nothing fancy, just a small community thing." "I'm sure it will be wonderful," Alex assured her. "We wouldn't miss it." After Rachel and Tommy left that afternoon, Alex found himself looking forward to the concert with unexpected eagerness. He realized how little he knew about Rachel's life outside these lessons. What kind of performer she had been, why she'd stopped playing professionally, what dreams she still harbored. The following Saturday evening, Alex and Lily arrived at the community center 15 minutes before the concert was scheduled to begin. Lily had insisted on dressing up, wearing a navy blue dress that had been hanging unworn in her closet for months. "Do you think Ms. Chen will be nervous?" Lily asked as they found their seats near the front. "Probably a little," Alex replied. "Most performers get nervous before they play, even though she's so good. Sometimes especially because she's so good. She wants to do her best." Lily nodded thoughtfully. "I'm going to clap really loud for her." The community center's small auditorium filled quickly. Alex was surprised by the turnout. Nearly every seat was taken, with people of all ages settling in for the performance. Tommy appeared suddenly beside them, sliding into the empty seat next to Lily. "Mom's backstage," he informed them. "She's pacing and mumbling her music." "Is she okay?" Alex asked. Tommy shrugged. "She gets like this before performances. She hasn't played for people in forever, though. Not since before the divorce." Alex wanted to ask more, but the lights dimmed, and a woman stepped onto the stage to introduce the evening's program. 4 musicians performed before Rachel: a violinist, a pianist, a flutist, and a trumpet player. Each was talented, but Alex found himself checking the program repeatedly, waiting for Rachel's name. Finally, the announcer returned to the stage. "Next, we're delighted to welcome back to the stage Rachel Chen, performing the prelude from Bach's Cello Suite No. 1. Rachel walked onto the stage in a simple black dress, her hair pulled back in an elegant knot. She carried her cello with practiced grace, settling onto the provided chair and positioning the instrument between her knees. She took a deep breath, raised her bow, and began to play. The opening notes filled the auditorium, and Alex felt something shift inside him. This wasn't the Rachel he knew from his living room, patiently guiding Lily through simple exercises. This was an artist lost in her element, her body swaying slightly with the music, her expression intense and vulnerable all at once. The piece was the same one she'd played that first day in his home, but it sounded different now, richer, more nuanced, filled with emotion that reached beyond the notes themselves. Alex found himself holding his breath, afraid to break the spell she was casting. When the final note faded, there was a moment of complete silence before the audience burst into applause. Lily stood up, clapping wildly, and Tommy followed suit. Alex rose more slowly, his heart pounding as if he'd been the one performing. Rachel bowed, a smile breaking across her face. As she straightened, her eyes found them in the audience, and her smile widened. She looked directly at Alex for a long moment before turning to acknowledge the rest of the audience. After the concert, they waited in the lobby for Rachel to emerge from backstage. Lily bounced on her toes, impatient to congratulate her teacher. "There she is," Tommy pointed, waving to get his mother's attention. Rachel made her way through the crowd, accepting congratulations from various people as she passed. When she reached them, her cheeks were flushed with excitement. "You were amazing," Lily exclaimed, throwing her arms around Rachel's waist. "Thank you, sweetheart," Rachel laughed, hugging Lily back. "I told you she was good," Tommy said to Alex with the pride of someone sharing a well-kept secret. "You were incredible," Alex said quietly when Lily released her. "Truly," Rachel's eyes met his. "Thank you for coming. It meant a lot to have you here." "We brought you these," Lily announced, nudging her father. Alex had almost forgotten the small bouquet of flowers he was holding. "Right, these are for you." Rachel accepted the flowers, her fingers brushing his. "They're beautiful." "Mom never gets flowers," Tommy commented. "Except that one time when Mr. Harris next door ran over our mailbox and felt bad." "Tommy," Rachel sighed, but she was smiling. "Are you guys hungry?" Alex asked. "We were thinking of grabbing dinner to celebrate." "Starving," Rachel admitted. "Performing always makes me hungry. Can we go to that pizza place with the games?" Tommy asked hopefully. "I was thinking somewhere a bit nicer," Alex said. "To celebrate properly." Rachel raised an eyebrow. "You don't have to do that." "I want to," Alex insisted. "Unless you'd prefer pizza and games." "No, somewhere nice sounds wonderful," Rachel said, a hint of surprise in her voice. "Let me just get my cello from backstage." As Rachel walked away, Lily tugged on Alex's sleeve. "Dad, is this like a date?" Alex felt his face grow warm. "No, it's just dinner to celebrate Ms. Chen's performance." Lily and Tommy exchanged a look that suggested they didn't believe him. What? Alex demanded. Nothing, Lily said innocently. Tommy snickered. Mom spent an hour doing her hair before the concert. She never does that. Before Alex could respond to this revelation, Rachel returned with her cello case. Ready? The restaurant Alex had chosen was upscale but welcoming, with white tablecloths and soft lighting. They were seated at a round table near a window overlooking the city lights. This is fancy, Tommy whispered loudly to Lily as they studied the menu. Your performance deserved something special, Alex told Rachel. I had no idea you played like that. It's been a long time, she admitted. I was nervous. You couldn't tell, Alex assured her. You were captivating. Rachel's cheeks colored slightly. Music has always been the easy part for me. It's everything else that gets complicated. Their conversation flowed easily throughout dinner, moving from music to their children, to books they'd enjoyed, to places they hoped to visit someday. The children contributed their own opinions, turning the meal into a lively four-way discussion that left them all laughing. As they waited for dessert, Lily and Tommy excused themselves to look at the fish tank near the entrance. Alone for the first time that evening, Alex and Rachel fell into a brief, awkward silence. Thank you for this, Rachel finally said. It's been a perfect evening. Alex took a chance and reached across the table, touching her hand lightly. I'm glad we came to your concert. Seeing you perform, it was like meeting a whole new part of you. Rachel turned her hand over, letting her palm meet his. Sometimes I forget that part of myself exists. You shouldn't, Alex said softly. She's pretty amazing. Their fingers intertwined, and they sat in comfortable silence until the children returned, bringing their chatter and energy back to the table. When they parted ways in the parking lot, Alex felt a distinct sense of something shifting between them, something he wasn't quite ready to name, but couldn't ignore any longer. The warm spring days had given way to summer heat when Alex's carefully balanced world began to wobble on its axis. For months he'd maintained the comfortable routine they'd all settled into: music lessons twice a week, occasional dinners, weekend outings with the kids. He'd been careful to keep things friendly but professional with Rachel, despite the growing feelings he couldn't quite ignore. But now, standing in his office staring at the email on his screen, he felt that balance shifting. Dad? Lily appeared in the doorway, cello bow in hand. Ms. Chen will be here in 20 minutes. Should I get my music ready? Alex minimized the email and forced a smile. Of course, kiddo. I'll be there in a minute. As Lily disappeared down the hall, he opened the email again. The board of directors wanted him to oversee the opening of their new office in Seattle. It would mean relocating for at least 6 months, possibly longer. 6 months away from home, 6 months away from Lily's lessons, 6 months away from Rachel. His fingers hovered over the keyboard as he considered his response. He could suggest someone else for the project, but he knew what that would mean for his career. This was the kind of opportunity that led to bigger things, the kind of opportunity he'd always jumped at before. Before what? Before a music teacher with warm green eyes had accidentally entered their lives. Before his daughter had found joy in music. Before he'd started looking forward to Thursday evenings more than any other time of the week. The doorbell's chime interrupted his thoughts. He closed his laptop and headed for the front door, his decision still unmade. Rachel stood on the porch holding her cello case, hair slightly wind-blown, cheeks pink from the summer heat. Hey, she said with a smile that still made his heart skip. Beautiful day, isn't it? Gorgeous, he agreed, stepping back to let her in. Lily's already warming up. She's been practicing hard. I got a very enthusiastic voice message about the new piece she mastered. Alex chuckled. She made me listen to it 6 times yesterday. They walked together toward the living room, their shoulders occasionally brushing in the hallway. These small moments of closeness had become precious to Alex. The accidental touches, the shared glances, the private smiles. Everything okay? Rachel asked suddenly. You seem distracted. Just work stuff, he replied, not quite meeting her eyes. Nothing important. The lesson proceeded as usual, with Lily showcasing her progress and Rachel guiding her through new challenges. Alex tried to focus on their interactions, to stay present in the moment, but the email weighed on his mind. When the lesson ended, Lily asked if she could show Tommy her new video game before dinner. They'd arranged earlier for Tommy to join them, as Rachel had a meeting with the community center director afterward. Sure, Alex said. Rachel and I will call you when the food arrives. Once the kids had disappeared upstairs, an unusual silence fell between the adults. They rarely had time alone together without the buffer of children or music. "Would you like some coffee?" Alex offered. "Or maybe something stronger." "I have wine." "Wine sounds nice," Rachel admitted with a small laugh. "The center's budget meeting is going to require fortification." In the kitchen, Alex poured 2 glasses of red wine and handed one to Rachel. Their fingers touched during the exchange, and neither pulled away as quickly as they might have once. "So," Rachel said, taking a sip, "what's really on your mind? And don't say nothing, because I've gotten pretty good at reading you over the last few months." Alex leaned against the counter, swirling the wine in his glass. "The company wants me to relocate to Seattle. 6 months minimum, possibly longer." "Oh." Rachel's expression fell slightly before she composed herself. "That's a big opportunity." "It is," he agreed. "The kind I would have jumped at a year ago, and now?" Alex met her eyes. "Now I'm not so sure." Rachel set her glass down carefully. "Because of Lily? She's made such progress with her music." "Partly because of Lily," he acknowledged. "But not just that. The air between them seemed to thicken." Rachel looked down at her hands. "When would you leave?" 3 weeks if I accept, if." Alex took a deep breath. "Rachel, these past few months have been, I don't know how to describe it. Having you and Tommy in our lives has changed things." "Changed me?" Rachel's eyes widened slightly. "Alex, I'm not good at this," he continued quickly. "I've been focused on work for so long I've forgotten how to say things that matter." Rachel stepped closer, her voice soft. "I think you're doing fine." Before Alex could respond, the doorbell rang, announcing the arrival of their food. The moment shattered, and they both stepped back, the unspoken words hanging between them. Dinner was a subdued affair, despite the children's animated conversation. Rachel left early for her meeting, with a promise that Tommy could stay until she returned. After she left, Alex found himself checking his phone repeatedly, composing and deleting text messages that might recapture their interrupted conversation. "Dad," Lily said as they cleared the dinner dishes, "are you and Ms. Chen fighting?" "What? No, of course not." "Why would you think that?" Lily shrugged. "You were both acting weird during dinner. Like when you're mad but trying to pretend you're not." Alex sighed. Sometimes his daughter was too perceptive. "We're not fighting. I just have some work decisions to make, and they're complicated." "Grown-up stuff," she said with a knowing nod. "Exactly." Later, after tucking Lily into bed, Alex sat on his back porch with his laptop, staring at the still unanswered email. The night air was warm, filled with the sounds of summer insects and distant traffic. His phone buzzed with a text message. "Rachel. Tommy's asleep. Can I stop by to pick him up? Don't want to wake him if he's already out too." Alex. "He's on the couch watching a movie. Still wide awake. I can drive him home if you're tired." Rachel. "Actually, I could use some fresh air after that budget meeting. I'll walk over." 15 minutes later, Rachel appeared at his back gate. Alex waved her up to the porch. "Tommy's engrossed in the movie. I told him you're here, but he begged for 10 more minutes to see the ending," Alex explained. Rachel laughed. "That means he's comfortable here." "That's nice." She settled into the chair beside him, looking up at the night sky. "Not many stars visible in the city." "No," Alex agreed. "I miss that about the countryside where I grew up." They sat in companionable silence for a moment, the earlier tension both present and somehow transformed. "About what you were saying earlier," Rachel finally said. Before the food arrived, Alex turned to face her. "Yes? I want you to know that whatever you decide about Seattle, it's okay. We, Tommy and I, will still be here when you get back." Alex studied her face in the dim porch light. "And if that's not enough?" Rachel looked startled. "What do you mean?" "What if I don't want to leave at all? What if these past few months have shown me that there are things more important than the next big career move?" "Alex," Rachel said gently, "I don't want to be the reason you pass up an opportunity you might regret missing." "You wouldn't be," he insisted. "You'd be the reason I finally got my priorities straight." Rachel reached over and took his hand, her touch warm and reassuring. "I care about you, Alex. You and Lily have become important to us in ways I never expected. But I don't want you making life decisions because of whatever this is between us. What if I want to?" Before she could answer, the sliding door opened and Tommy appeared, yawning. "Movie's over, Mom." The moment broke, but Alex didn't let go of Rachel's hand immediately. "We'll finish this conversation," he promised quietly. "It's the best thing that's happened to me in years," she whispered. Alex stepped closer, one hand still holding hers, the other moving to rest lightly on her waist. "Can I kiss you, Rachel? I've been wanting to for months now." Instead of answering, she rose on her toes and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, before deepening into something that made Alex's heart race. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless. "I've been wanting to do that since you played Bach in my living room," Alex admitted. Rachel laughed. "I've been wanting to since you made me coffee exactly the way I like it without asking." The sound of the front door opening made them step apart, though their hands remained linked. Lily walked in, took one look at them, and broke into a wide grin. "Finally," she exclaimed. "Tommy owes me $5. He said it would take you guys another month at least." "Lily and Morgan," Alex scolded, feeling his face grow warm. "Have you been betting on us?" "Just a friendly wager," Lily said innocently. "Ms. Chen, are you going to be my stepmom now?" "Lily." Alex was mortified, but Rachel just laughed. "Let's take things one step at a time," she suggested. "Maybe we could start with dinner? All four of us? Can we go to that fancy restaurant again?" Lily asked eagerly. "The one with the fish tank?" Alex exchanged a look with Rachel. "I think that could be arranged." That evening, Alex watched as Lily and Tommy chattered animatedly across the dinner table, while Rachel's hand rested comfortably in his. The restaurant was the same as before, but everything else felt wonderfully different. "You know," Rachel said quietly while the kids debated the merits of different ice cream flavors for dessert, "when you called me that first day, I almost told you right away that you had the wrong number. What stopped you?" She smiled, a hint of mischief in her eyes. "Curiosity. The promise of a decent paycheck. And honestly, you sounded so stressed and determined. I didn't have the heart to disappoint you." "Best wrong number I ever dialed," Alex said, lifting their joined hands to kiss her knuckles. "Best mistake I ever didn't correct," she agreed. Later that month, at the community center showcase, Lily played her cello piece flawlessly. Alex sat in the audience between Rachel and Tommy, feeling a sense of completion he hadn't known was missing from his life. As Lily took her final bow, she spotted them and beamed, pointing excitedly to her small family that had somehow doubled in size over the past year. On the program, someone had printed a quote from Bach. "Music is an agreeable harmony for the honor of God and the permissible delights of the soul." Looking at Rachel's profile as she applauded proudly, Alex thought that maybe life was its own kind of music. Notes and rests, harmonies and occasional discord, coming together to create something beautiful when you found the right people to play alongside. He squeezed Rachel's hand and she turned to smile at him. Sometimes the wrong number led to exactly the right connection, and sometimes what began as a simple mistake became, note by note, the sweetest melody of all.